The first change to talk about when it comes to Zooey is going to be to her jumping U. The vertical hitbox has been adjusted inward so that it's going to be more likely to hit enemies that are closer to Zooey in some combo routing. However, there is another change here that is a little more noticeable, I would argue, and that's going to be to how the move behaves on counter hit. Previously, there was some fun little jank that you could have where if you're able to cross up the opponent with a JU and hit them with a counter hit, they'd be blown into Zooey and you would get some pretty crazy and funny looking sequences like this. While this didn't really come up too often in matches, as this was a whole situation that you had to basically try to orchestrate against some of the taller characters in the cast, it did make for some very funny Twitter clips. Arxis and Cygames have decided that no fun is allowed and have thus adjusted the property for JU on hit to always blow the opponent away from Zooey. Now, the behavior looks like this. As you can see, instead of Verzucia following the direction of the JU thrust animation, she's instead just blown completely away from Zooey. This really isn't the biggest of deals because, again, this was very rare for it to actually come up or even matter or even be reliable in a match situation. It is something there. People who enjoy the Twitter highlights are going to miss it, but any sort of competitive player isn't really going to notice this, I think. During Dragon Summon Heavy Breath, Zooey is no longer pushed back during the active frames. The patch notes say this is to make it so that Zooey has an easier time getting follow-ups in the corner. However, in my own bit of testing, I haven't been able to find any meaningful difference in the behavior. I'm probably misunderstanding the behavior or the notes themselves, so there's a Zooey player who can give me some insight into what's actually changing here and what this opens up for Zooey in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. Summon Dragon's Sweeping Beam, however, has a change I can easily demonstrate and get my head around. All of the hits except for the final hit have an extra 20 frames of hits done, meaning that it's easier for Zooey to pick up combos when the final hit doesn't hit, which is very common in the corner. As you can see, Gran recovers pretty high in the old patch. You are still able to link a close heavy here, but the timing can be tight. Compare that to the current patch. Sandalphon doesn't recover until his head hits the ground, so there's a lot of wiggle room for you to basically get whatever link it is that you want. A well appreciated change for Zooey players, and this will open up some new and easier combo routing for her overall. My apologies for not being able to demonstrate a whole lot here, especially with regards to the heavy breath changes. After labbing for about 20 minutes and then scouring Twitter and not finding really any tech regarding it, I had to basically decide to move on so I can keep pumping out the character videos as we speak at a reasonable pace, especially with the busy schedule that I have right now. Still, Zooey does have a couple of nice changes that should mean her combo game is a lot more consistent overall, and that's something that players will greatly appreciate. She's always had a little bit of jank in her kit, it seems, but it seems like Cygames and Arxis are trying to remove some of it just so that she feels a little more complete and functional as a character, which is always appreciated in patches like this.